Very straight to the point tutorial. You open up Flash, ActionScript 3. Okay. Now, to change the properties for your stage, you want to go to Properties. If you don't have it, you can always go to Window, click on the Properties tool, and it'll pop up. This changes the stage size. So if you're looking to change the frame rates and the size of the screen, so you're doing a 720 HD, low res to HD, you can do that as well. Okay. Holding spacebar and clicking, dragging, putting the stage in front of you. All right, sweet. Animating a ball. Me personally, guys, I like creating library objects just to keep my animations more organized. Okay. You can essentially just design the ball in Flash, right? So you have a rectangle tool, the oval tool. If you go to properties, you can pick and choose the color. You can choose one of these spherical colors if you feel like, or just pick a solid color, okay? Don't use stroke, please. Do not use stroke. Just leave it as a solid fill color. So on my layer, I can design a ball. I'm going to show you the difference between the library and just designing it on your layer, okay? Now if I click and drag, I can create a ball. If I hold shift, it keeps it constrained proportionally. And there's my ball. Using my selection tool, I can animate from here. Now, I'll show you the library thing in a second. I'm just going to show you some basic animations, and I'm sure you're watching this video and you just want to learn some basic ways to animate. Okay, so remember, you can right-click and do a classic tween, a shape tween, a motion tween. What's the difference? Well, let me do a little sample here. I'm going to click this layer, I'm going to right-click and duplicate it 3 times. And duplicate layer. Okay, I'm going to call this first layer a motion. Second one I'm going to call shape. And then last one I'm going to call classic. Okay, so let's hide these other 2 ones. You're probably thinking, what did you hide? Well, technically, they're all there, just they're on top of each other. So if I move this over, you can see that. Okay, so let's just hide these 2 and not touch them by locking them. And let's focus on the motion one. Now, the motion. If you're just moving your object up and down, left and right, this is the great way to do this. So I'm going to click on my frame. I'll right click and say, let's make this a motion tween. It's going to say, you must convert it. Do not show again and say yes. So you'll notice that it's made a library object for us already. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to my first frame here. And you ask yourself, how long do I want this object to be? Well, 1 second, 30 frames. So I'm going to make this 2 seconds. I'm literally going to click and drag it, so 60 seconds. Okay. I'm going to bring this ball on frame 1 outside the stage, up high. I'm just going to move this over. Hold spacebar. Okay, cool. So the ball is off stage. Now if I move my timeline, nothing's really happened. But let's say 15 frames from now, I want this ball to be hitting the bottom of the stage. Okay. When you do that, you can actually play and click and drag a area of the vector path that's taking and adjust it, and it will actually conform to that shape. Let's go 30 frames later, bring this ball up. Now notice it naturally wants a curve as well, so in actual reality I'm just going to bring this back down, and it's actually done the loop for me, so it looks like this. Boom, boom. Now from here you can ask yourself, hey, I'd like the geometry a little higher, so it looks like it's going up higher and coming back down. And again, I'm going to just reduce the frames in between, do the same thing, and move it over here. It should just automatically have a loop of some sort. Adjust that. Okay. And let's do a few frames later, move it, and it's kind of give you that illusion that it's rolling and it's stopped. In retrospect, maybe I'll go a little bit further out on the stage. Okay, and then that's a simple motion tween. Bounce, boom, and rolling, and kind of stopped. Nothing exciting. And from there, I'm going to do something really cool. On the frame right after it, I'm going to right click and say insert a blank keyframe. Okay, nothing's happened there. Okay, because I have this as a libraried item, a symbol, I can bring him into the stage again on a blank keyframe. If I get my transform tool, I can click shift and enlarge the object as big as I want. If I do extreme close up or just like a medium shot, depending on the size of the object. And then from there, you can press F5, or if you want to, right click on the frame you were desiring and specify that you want a blank keyframe. So in my storytelling, I'm telling the ball that I want kind of a long shot of a ball bouncing, slowing down, stopping, and then a close-up of it. Okay, so that's basic motion tweening. Let's hide and lock that and reveal the shape tween. Okay. Shape tween is great if you're trying to morph objects. So let's click on this shape here, right click, and let's specify this shape tween. Click on this. You know you did it right when you see kind of a greenish box. Like basic tweening, guys, you need to have a keyframe A and a minimum of 2 keyframes, keyframe B. Let's just say in frame 20, I'm going to type in F6 to do a keyframe. Now, on frame 1, there's a few options you can do with a shape tween. I can tell the object to be normal, and you change position of it. Frame 20, I'm going to grab my direct selection tool, click on one of the nodes, and just kind of morph the shape. Okay. Flash will then, in this case, change the position and morph the shape at the same time within the frames. Okay. If I go to, say, frame 30 here, and I F6, and straight up I just delete the object and introduced a new object, but even if same color or different color, doesn't even matter. So I go to properties on this and change the color just to show you that Flash will, on that frame, change the color. Let's go something a little vibrant. So check this out. From frame 20 to 30, it will morph the position, shape, and color of that object. So it's another way of animating as well as a shape. Okay, these are good for like characters' mouths or just a morphing of clouds or something like that. You want to do something clever like that, you can do that as well. Okay, and that's a shape tween. So you can morph object to object, color to color, or animate the anchor points or the nodes on the object. Here, I'll just do one more really quickly. F6 on 45. I can grab this point here, drag it in, animate, and a really cool style you can do here. F6 a few frames later. Let's do it node by node. F6 on that layer. You can do some cool things, right? This is actually kind of cool. I don't know if you knew this, but hold Shift. I want these frames to be copied, so I'm going to right click and copy these frames. And then on that layer, I can right click and paste those frames. But check this out. I'm going to hold those ones I just pasted, right click, and then reverse them. And I just saved my time animating, kind of morphing an object that's going into itself and then back out. Kind of cool, eh? Anyways, you can use that to your advantage, copying and pasting frames and reversing them to save some cool animation time. Let's move on into the classic tween. Here's that ball again. Classic tween, you're going to right click and say classic tween. Frame 1, I want the ball over here. Say frame 10, F6, or you can right click. You did it right when you see a kind of lavender color with an arrow through it. So on frame 10, I'm going to just move the ball. You don't have the same trail that you would do with a motion tween, but that's okay. It's pretty good that way. A nice option about the classic tween is that you got all the standards. So if I wanted to click here and go to color effect and play with, say, alpha, this is kind of cool. I can tell the computer I want this to be transparent, so you can have things fade or go to each other. So in frame 10, it's solid, and in frame 20, it's faded. It still exists. So to prove this, I'll go to frame 30, press F6, add a keyframe, click on the object. Always click on the object to get the alpha effect to back up, and you can bring it back into transparency. Now, keep that in mind. It's transparent. If you had any layers below it, it would actually it'll be see-through. So keep that in mind. Or straight up, you just want to go do an alpha tint. So I'm going to F6 on frame 40 here. Click on the object. Instead of alpha, I'm going to say tint, and you can specify what color, and it'll actually fade in not only the color but the transparency of it to a solid. That's pretty cool. So that's only options with a classic. And again, you can also do standard stuff like sizing, and you can do multiple things on a keyframe. So in this case, I'm changing color and transparency plus the size and also position. So a lot of things are happening in between frames 30 and 40 with my keyframes. So essentially, guys, there's a lot going on here. I'll play it through. Okay. And that's my storytelling. So those are basic animations, guys. When doing medium shots and extreme long shots, library is nice to have objects. I'm going to do one last quick thing. Some people like using Illustrator. I'm going to show you really quickly. I created a ball in Illustrator. Okay. Here's another option for designing a ball, because Illustrator has nicer design features that you don't have with Flash. So say I had a blue ball here, and this is a nice little technique I like using. Clicking on another circular kind of a reflection point. I'm going to make this like a white, and grab my blend tool. If you guys remember those tools, blend. Got blend options. I'm going to make sure it's based on color. Yeah, that's nice. And then I'm going to go object and make. So it gives it a nice kind of a highlight spot for my ball, right? I'm going to save this ball as an Illustrator file. And because it's Adobe program and Flash is an Adobe program, it's they collaborate, they connect. So what we're going to do on Flash, if this interests you, excuse me about the cough, insert, new symbol, Ball Supreme. Yeah. So in Ball Supreme, I inserted a new symbol. It's there. I'm going to go to File, Import to my library. Actually, in retrospect, I didn't have to actually make a new insert, so I apologize about that. Here's my ball. Yeah. And if I had multiple layers in Illustrator, I'll bring them in. Press OK. So there's my ball AI. If I double click on it, I'm in the ball. And if I had other layers, it'll be there too. But the nice thing is I can go back to my scene, add a new layer, and go my ball AI file and drop that in, and voila. And why is this important? Well, if I double click on my ball, I can go in and animate my ball a little differently. So check this out. I'm going to do a little roll. So I'm going to do a right click, a classic tween, 5 frames later. I'm going to press F6. I'm going to click my free transform tool, click once, just rotate a degree or so, F6 again, rotate, and this is going to give you the illusion that my ball is rolling across the stage. So hold shift. I'm just doing this in increments. F6. Okay, and I'll keep on doing this. F6. I'm holding shift, by the way, just to keep the rotation incremental when I click and drag my mouse across. F6. Okay, and I'm almost there. One more rotation, and this thing is looking like it's come full circle. Oh, wait, something. What happened here? Actually, in retrospect, I only had to do. Yeah, that's crazy. That didn't rotate properly. There we go. That makes more sense. Okay, I don't know what happened there. I messed up on that one frame. So I'm gonna go back because right now, oops, I'm in the ball. So if I go to that scene, what's cool about this is this ball will keep on rotating like that and loop for the duration of the time it's on the screen. Okay, so if I wanted to, I can now apply another, say, motion tween. So I right click on this, have it offside, bring it into the stage, but as it's moving in, it's rolling around and I can still move other parts of it. And that's the nice thing about using a library clip. To the stage. Okay. Anyways, a lot of confusion going on here, but essentially that's how I animate, and there you go. Hopefully that was useful for you guys. I would save the file. Ball. Now I didn't tell a story or anything, but I'm just showing you the basics in terms of shape, motion, classic, and bringing a library object and scaling it up to make it look like an extreme close-up or a medium shot or a long shot. Okay. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Thanks.